Hey guys, welcome back to the AutoHaz YouTube channel. You join me in the car, not my car, not driving, but with my dad today, and we are off to the mini plant in Oxford. I've wanted to go round and do the mini plant Oxford tour for quite some time now, given the fact that I literally own a mini and it was once there being produced. And I've actually got a little bit of free time to head there and take a look around. It is going to be a good day. It should be really good. I'm looking forward to having a look around the plant and seeing exactly what it's like inside there and seeing the new, well, what now will be F66 minis rolling off the production line. So we're going to sit back, enjoy the journey, and I'll join you there. So guys, you join me here in the museum after the mini plant Oxford factory tour. Unfortunately, you're not allowed to do any filming inside the factory at all, but I totally get that. You know, they're producing their cars in there, they've got to keep that stuff under wraps and obviously keep it exclusive to those having the tour. But wow, I'm honestly speechless. I don't really know where to start. What a place. There's so many things going on in there, from individual parts arriving to them going along the production line, little welds being made all by robots, paint going on the car, cars coming off at the end, human beings and interacting with the cars, plugging them in, putting wheels on. It's just fantastic. So if any of you out there are wondering, oh, is it worth doing the tour? 110%, even more than that. Don't even question it, just go on it. It was absolutely fantastic. I'd even come back again just to get the experience of looking around it again. I was so mesmerised, and I'm sure there's so many things to look at inside there. I'm sure if I went around it again, there'd be other stuff I would see that I didn't see this time. There's stuff going on above your head, at one point stuff going on around you, your feet, above you, in front of you, to the sides of you, it's just all around you. And there's a few main buildings, but the first one, even though it's full of robots and there's cars being made on a production line there, it's really not that loud in there at all. It was quite peaceful. And even in the second one, where you've got things like wheels going on, everything is just so efficient and amazing. And I mean, towards the end, they were working with something like a 74-second time target on each car, and a car rolls off that production line every 60 seconds. So there's so much to see, and you do get to see the cars coming off the production line. So like I said, unfortunately, I can't film much, or I couldn't film anything inside the factory. And I also don't want to tell you guys too much about it, because I don't want to spoil it for those who are going to go and do that tour. Just go and do it, enjoy it yourself, and you'll love it. It's absolutely amazing. Whether you've got a mini or not, it's still super interesting. But I can film in here. This is the museum afterwards, so I'm going to go back to the start, because I've managed to walk all the way down there and talk into the camera, and I'm going to show you all of the minis through the time, right from the start to where we are present day. So we'll start at the front here. I'll put little things of these up on the screen. This is the 1914 Morris Oxford Bullnose. Fair to say things have changed quite a bit since then. Looking around it, I mean, it doesn't look anything like a mini, but super, super cool. So then moving on from the 1914 model, we take a big jump in time to 1959. This is the Morris Mini Minor, one that a lot of you will recognise. This is the classic, the iconic start of Mini. This particular one was the 30th Mini to roll off the production line. It's been very kindly donated to the Mini Museum, so folks can have a look at it, and it was restored all the way up to 2019, ready for its 60th birthday. And just look how small it is compared to a modern Mini. Absolutely crazy. I'll try when I go around the other side to get a shot that I can insert aside here, so you can just see the difference in the two. Such a cool little car. I'd love to own one of these. If I knew more about what I was doing mechanically, I'd love to own one of these. Then we take a leap forward in time to 1967, another Mini Morris Minor, and this one was equipped with a 34 brake horsepower inline-4 engine, less than a 1 litre capacity, and 0 to 50 in 27.1 seconds. Now, I'm not old enough to know if that was considered quick or not during that time, but hasn't it showed, or doesn't it go to show how far minis have come in that time? Then moving to 1961, the first Countryman style Mini, which actually resembles more the shape of a modern day Clubman, ironically, but same at the front end as the one behind it. It's just got this longer rear end on the back. Up here we've got a 1965 Austin Mini Countryman. Again, resembles the shape of the Clubman, but doesn't it look nice in that red as well? That's one of my favourite ones of the more classic minis that are inside this museum. I'm sure many of you watching it will be familiar with the movie The Italian Job, the big gold heist. This one's got gold bars on. This is the Natasha Kane Mini, as you can see signed there on the bonnet. This is a 1999 Mini, and it was made in honour of the Italian Job movie. And similar to that one, this was also part of the Italian Job. And pointing the camera up to the windscreen, notice anything different in there? It's got 2 steering wheels, and the purpose of this being that the actor in the movie could sit in the driver's seat, and you could have a stunt driver actually piloting the car from another driving seat, so they could get shots with the actors in the cars, but with the stunt style driving. This rather extravagant Mini is the 2009 Mini Cooper Paul Weller editions. This is a one-off thing that Paul Weller designed, and it's got this nice pink and brown stripe design. Pretty crazy, really. It stands out in here very, very well. Got some nice shiny chrome mirror caps, which you can see a bit of filming in. Oh, look at that. And at the end of this row, we've got, obviously, the new Mini Cooper S. This is the 3-door variant. Obviously, it's available in a 5-door and a convertible as well. And this is the very car that my dad and I have just watched coming off the production line here at Mini Plant Oxford. And this new Mini initially, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't a massive fan of it, but it's really grown on me. It looks really nice, and it was amazing seeing all of them rolling off the production line. Interesting fact, white and black, unsurprisingly, are the 2 most popular colours. You'd think it would maybe be something a little bit more vibrant with a Mini, but it sort of didn't really surprise me to hear that they are the 2 most popular colours, and there was loads of white ones coming off the production line. Interestingly, quite a lot of convertibles on the production line as well. And underneath, this is what they call production in white. So this is the car before it's had any paint, any body panels put on. In fact, this is a little bit further than production in white because this one's got doors. But you can see this is an F54, so this is the previous, now discontinued unfortunately, Clubman body. And you can see that this is the Proof Cube body. So this is a mock-up basically of the car, CNC'd within, I think it's like a 0.2mm precision of the CAD designs of the car. And this is basically to check that all the body panels fit before producing this car. This is a 1-to-1 scale of their initial drawings, and this allows them to make sure that everything fits together properly, that it looks good, that it's built or can be built well, and that everything fits together nicely. And that obviously had very positive results, because if you drive about now in Britain, there's absolutely tons of Mini Clubmans out on the road. In fact, over here in this corner, you can see just how much the Mini has grown. Got the original Morris Minor style Mini, and then the modern F56 Mini. Back end of that looks very similar to my old Cooper D. Now, when I said we've just watched Minis coming off the end of the production line, that is what we saw. Minis coming through the end, they beep the horn, test the lights, drive off the end of the production line. If all is good, the car continues. If there's any problems, they swing it round into the side and can check those out and get them sorted ASAP. But now it's time to take a quick look at Mini Electric. Now, the first ever Mini Electric I drove was when I was actually working at a Mini dealership, and it came in the form of this, the F56 Electric, which was literally just an F56 chassis with a battery and motor put in. Obviously now the Mini Electric is more designed from the ground up as an electric car, so it's better, but this is what we were dealing with. A super compact motor down in the front there, a battery pack which sat nice and low in the floor to keep centre of gravity low, but the rest of it, just a typical 3-door F56 Mini body. And they did also do a very limited run of quite overly expensive F57 electrics, so convertible electrics. But that's just such where the production electric Mini started. That's where consumers on the average market could buy them. However, go back to the London 2012 Olympics, and you probably would have seen this. This was an electric R56 style Mini, obviously not put into production, but still very, very cool. And I was very young when I went to the London 2012 Olympics, but I remember seeing all this sign. So this car is a little bit nostalgic for me to have a look at. Now, an important thing to note about this model of F56 Mini was this was actually built on the same production lines as the petrol and, at the time, diesel models here at Oxford, whereas now production of that has been moved outside of England. But they said on a tour by 2030, all of the new Mini Electrics should be being produced here, which is really good to hear. Then, making our way further around the museum, we come across the new shape Mini convertible, the F67. This one here is the Cooper S model. I really like this new colour that it's finished in. It very, very closely resembles Dravit Grey, but a little bit lighter. And we can actually open this one up and have a look inside. Obviously, I've got a video coming on the F57 Mini convertible very, very soon. But you can see it's got that new style dashboard in there, the new smaller steering wheel to give you that go-kart feel. It's actually a really nice interior. Another thing which has massively grown on me with this new generation of Mini. Interestingly, at the back though, The lighting and bumper style is closer to the old model versus the new one. This must be something to do with ease of production. And in my personal opinion, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that's quite a good thing because I really like that shape and style of Mini. Next to it is the 1994 Mini Cooper SPI. This is a rally style Mini, indicated by those massive spotlights. Don't they look pretty cool? I'm pretty sure you could get those actually or something like that as an accessory on the F56 models before they facelifted it to the shape like mine, but this thing is awesome. I bet this was an absolute blast to blast around in. You can see inside there, full race style seats. I love that, that is super cool. Oh, and a big crack in the windscreen as well. Big crack in the middle there. Shows it's had good use. And then we come on to the first and the original Mini GP. This is actually a Cooper S with the GP style kit on. This was priced at roughly £22,000 when it came out versus the near 40 of that when it came out. In the middle, an R56 shape Mini. This has obviously been done up for racing. This is the 2015 OX4 Racing GP2 endurance car. So a little bit newer than this, and obviously this wasn't put into public production for obvious reasons. It's got a lovely set of Team Dynamic wheels on it. Oh my God, look at that, Scale Electrics. I had that as a kid, that's awesome. Rear wiper delete. It's a really, really cool piece of kit. And I'm obviously not gonna get in out of respect for these exhibits, but you can see inside there, single seat, flat base either side, big fire extinguisher, and an Alcantara top and bottom steering wheel. Very, very nice. I'd love to have gone around a track in something like this. These are super cool. And last but not least, moving to the very end of the Mini Museum, the most up-to-date GP model currently, the Mini GP3. Wouldn't surprise me if Mini are working on a GP4 with the new shape or the facelift, unless they're waiting for something bigger. But this was number 9040, indicated on the side. And then moving on to the very last part of the Mini Museum, the most up-to-date GP4 model, the Mini GP3. This is based on the F56 John Cooper Works shape. It's got that carbon style big wide arch body kit on it, gives those arches a wider stance. The massive GP spoiler, same rear end as a JCW, but with obviously the GP badge on. These were finished only in melting silver with that chili red insert in here and a melting silver roof. Sorry, not melting silver body, racing grey body. And it had slightly tinted Union Jack lights, but you can see that it has a really nice wide stance at the back there, and that big wing finishes it off perfectly. This GP, interestingly, is a left-hand drive, and it's also got a GoPro mount stuck just up on the dashboard there, and I'm pretty sure, people in the comments correct me if I'm wrong, but that number plate, that was a previous Mini GP3 press vehicle, which will probably explain why it's ended up at the end of its press life in here. But that's a 2 litre 306 brake horsepower engine Mini, same engine as that you'd find in the modern pre-facelifted M135i at BMW. Super cool, very, very fast car that. It's about, I think, 50 to 70 kilos lighter than a normal JCW, so it get around the track a little bit quicker, and there's actually a really good platform and mods available for those as well. I did at one point consider a GP, but I think it's maybe a little bit too rough for the daily driving, especially when you consider how many miles I've done in my JCW. And if you're unsure of that, if you don't know how many, go and watch the previous video where we took a proper look around my JCW, the car behind the starting of this YouTube channel. And that is it. That concludes the short but really exciting and fun tour of the Mini factory here. I'm really sorry that I couldn't film anything inside the actual factory itself, but in the museum, obviously, I've been able to have a look around at these fantastic cars, which all mark significant milestones in the history and advancement of Mini through the ages. These Minis, all of them very, very special. They all mark progress for the Mini brand. Special edition ones marking cool collaborations, but in here there's some real bits of history, right the way from the early 50s with the Morris Minor Mini at the back there, all the way to the present day with the GP3 that you saw at the very end of the museum. If you're considering doing the tour, just do it, without a doubt, just do it. It's extremely incredible and so interesting just to see inside the factory and see exactly how these cars are made. And I said to my dad when we were walking around, my car was here 3 years ago, going through this production line, being assembled, being painted, put together, ready to come to me. Very, very excited, waiting for it to arrive at the dealership. And it's really, really nice to see that. I would have loved to have seen my very own car being produced on the production line. And you never know, if you've got a modern Mini on order and you get here, they won't be able to tell you, but you very well might just be looking at your car in production. So definitely speak to the guys at Mini Plant Oxford, head over here, book your tickets online. In fact, I'm going to put a link in the description for anybody who wants to book it. Tour guide Nigel was absolutely fantastic. Massive shout out to him, full of incredible knowledge. He worked here as a paint shop manager for over 10 years, I think he said, and he was just fantastic. He took us around the whole place. We had a little earpiece on and he could tell us everything we needed to know or anything we wanted to know about that factory. Now, after all that walking around and information ingesting into my brain, I'm pretty peckish, and so is my dad. So we're going to head over to the Farmer's Dog for a nice spot of lunch. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. I'm sorry it was only a short one as I couldn't film inside the factory, but I just thought you'd bring you guys along and show you some of the things that are here, but without spoiling it too much for those of you who want to pay your visit yourself. If you enjoyed this video, give it a massive thumbs up, leave me a comment below, and subscribe to the AutoHaz YouTube channel for more exciting videos just like this, including car reviews, museum visits to do with car heritage, and so much more. I'll see you in the next one.